Hello, and welcome. I am Red Pill Daniels, and today's topic: does therapy work for people? If yes or no, what therapy does work for you? Well, the therapy that works for me is YouTube content, as in MGTOW and old YouTubers. But overall, that's what works for me. That's what helped me through the day. That's what helped me throughout life. Going to regular therapy costs a lot of money. It doesn't help, and you end up being frustrated. But overall, regular therapy does not work for me. While I'm talking, I'm gonna see if I can get some people in here best way I can. I informed everybody that I'm going live right now, so let's see what I can do. But I used to go to therapy as a child. It didn't help, and I always quote back to my old problems. Let's see who I can get in there. Well, I'm waiting. Excuse me. Kept switching the time because I didn't feel good. Felt like I had a stomach virus. Kept going to the bathroom. Threw up a couple of times. I didn't really feel good. So I kept switching the time. So, yeah. Take a long time for me to build to get people in this stream. But it'll get there. It will get there. But therapy, going to therapy costs a lot of money. It doesn't help. And end up being back frustrating. I went to therapy most of my anger problems. That didn't help. The people in the group was, of course, always upset, um, bullying, and the therapy they went to didn't help them out as well. But let's see if I get some people here. Yeah. Yep. Team lost, but that's cool. That is cool. I am quiet right now. Therapy does I go to. I went to a long time. It didn't help me out. Yep. 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 Yeah, I'm quiet. Quiet. Quiet as a mouse. I used to be when I was in therapy, just quiet. Didn't want to ask no questions. Didn't want to talk to anybody. Just quiet. Somewhat like that now. Depends on the person. You know. But MGTOW content does help out a lot. And then, making life changes myself really helped out a lot. Still had to deal with worldly problems, but the therapy that you create and lifestyles that you make makes a big difference. Invited these people and they ghost on me. They ghost on me. See who's in the chat here. Nope, nobody yet. Nobody yet. This sucks. It's gonna take a while for me to invite some people in and build me an audience. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. See what I can do here. Cause of a mess. Cause of a mess. He went live. He went live. Of course, my head still hurt, but I'll be all right. No pain, no gain. But so much mid content has helped me out a whole lot. Still need a lot of work, but my MGTOW content is therapy to me. Playing video games is my therapy. Cleaning up is my therapy. Mostly my hobbies or talking to someone is my therapy. Talking to someone that don't know what they're talking about is not therapy to me. MGTOW content, you don't have to pay any money. Doing hobbies, you don't have to pay any money. So on and so on. And I love it. Really love it. Not spending any money watching MGTOW content. But overall, women who go to therapy does not work for them. The majority, it does not work for them at all because they come out being screwed up, same attitude, and they waste their time going there overall. And end up paying a lot of money or don't pay no money at all, just going to therapy. But therapy has helped me out a lot. MGTOW content, especially. Ben wants to come in. No, it is. This sucks. Some people laugh and they ignore my bitch ass. I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at it. Nigga see me. But therapy does help me out. Not going to people one on one, but just watching YouTube content that help me out on a regular basis. And actually going to therapy sometimes work if you put it to use. But what the therapists have wrong is, well, you have to get along with the person. You have to do this. You have to do that. The person that's mad at you and hate your guts, you smile, you end up pissing off even more. The therapist sometimes can give you wrong information on how to deal with a situation or a person. Sometimes that does not help. Overall, you have to make changes for yourself and see what's worked for you. YouTube content, doing hobbies, working out, lifting weights. Let's see what works for you. On the other hand, going to real therapy is a pain, especially if I have a woman therapist. Don't know what they talking about. Um, they don't know what they talking about most of the time. Going to a woman therapist, I'd rather have a male therapist than a female therapist. Male therapists know what they're talking about. Male therapists that have a blue pill mindset can lead you in the wrong direction. That's why I'd rather watch YouTube content than to actually go to a real therapist. Man, these guys had not responding back. Gotta keep trying. Gotta keep trying. Keep trying. Gotta keep trying. Gotta keep trying. My head still hurt a little bit, but I'll be all right. Sleep will be all right. I gotta get this guy a topic here. Gotta get this guy a topic. Why right now? That is a mess. That is a mess. Oh, my head still hurts. I think he bikeable. I think he bikeable. He might not. See, I talk about watching the replay. Long way to go before I build audience. A long way to go. Nope. It's just me. But overall, the therapy that worked for me is MGTOW content. Watching someone that's actually important. Watching someone that actually give you correct information. Something that works for you. Especially living in this world today that's chaotic, that's dangerous. People losing their mind. People go get help for medication, which don't work. People going to talk to someone, a therapist, spending a lot of money, that don't help. Now, if you talk to someone in your family that may help you out, that may help out. But spending money on a therapist does not really work. What's up, Red?
What's up? I'm trying Mike to hook up.
Yep. So today's topic is does therapy work for people? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Okay. Do I think that um the mental health works or marriage therapy works? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, 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 no. Does therapy work for people?
If you have money, yes.
Right, right. Just
Um.
like going to a therapist, or could be anything like YouTube content, MGTOW content.
Oh. Okay. Okay. I think that binging on MGTOW channels did help me kind of open up a room like in my mind that I didn't know I had.
Right.
And yeah, but I mean I could never um go to like here's something interesting I found. When I was younger and I tried to go to like regular psychiatrist in like my early 20s, um it didn't really work, and I always felt like my counselors were working against me even if I had a male counselor.
Right.
And I remember when I was first red pilled, I remember I was kind of regurgitating. I'm not saying I didn't have any of my own theories, but I will say this: it really clicked with me because I felt, one of the things that MGTOW talks about is we all felt like we were being programmed, and we were being programmed. But like everything that we told us was pretty much a lie. It was just what people wanted us to like hear or be programmed to. I remember I had the same friend that told me all this advice would tell me to do the opposite once I was in a relationship and dating. Like you can't do that and you can't do that. After he just like told me the opposite like before. So it's like once I got into the relationship, they were telling me to do like the opposite of what they said once I was in it.
Right. Right.
And
And
yeah,
that's also blue pill as well,
yeah,
especially if you have a female therapist.
yeah,
They somewhat give you the wrong information, and then you go back out there and fail again.
yeah. Did just real quick? I was gonna say this real quick. I forgot to say. It. I got you lost my mind. Did you know that what was it? 80%, 80 to like 90%, depending on the statistic you get it from, of therapists are female, and 80 to 90% of therapists are lefty. They're left wing
Yes.
politics. Yeah,
Yes.
so that's going to interfere with, and that's one thing people. There's actually been. I was on Quora having like a war on that because people are saying that like the psychiatrist is built to put their politics aside, but I'm sure that most people consider their political ideologies they associate it with preservation. So maybe they're a little more self-aware than other people are. But I'll have to say, from my personal experience, and I've had several counselors, I wouldn't say I've had like 10, but I've had maybe five different ones, maybe somewhere around that. And I always felt like if I were to talk about anything like that, it wasn't the only thing I talked about, but I do think a lot of it does have to do with feminism because I have a lot of trauma from my mother and stuff from growing up, and I always just felt like they were working against me. Like here, I'll share this. I'll give you one example. Not to go too off topic. Is actually kind of fucked up. So I was talking about how I felt like this in my early teens too. Like I felt like my mother. This is disturbing, just so you know,
Right.
was like trying to come on to me. Like I felt like she was trying to make me into like a son husband. Now I understand that phrase means something different, but there are times if you go on the forums of a MGTOW forum and they talk about the son husband, there's oftentimes like a sexual thing with it too, not just emotional sexual, what they call emotional relationship or whatever, cheating or whatever. But like I was like trying to tell that like there was this one time where she kept trying to put lotion on the table like all the time in toilet paper, just like put it in front of me like all the time. And like there was like she used to run around the house naked and everything. And one day she like pretended to like drop a towel on the floor and then bend over and pick it up. It was like looked so staged, really disturbing things. And then there were, and anyways, I tried to talk to the counselor about this, but there was one thing I was talking to my counselor about. I was like, one day we were in the car, and a couple times, a lot of stuff would happen in the car for some reason. Like we were having a conversation, and then she tickled me and said, "Not as big as your balls." I'm not even joking about this. And I confronted her in the car about this, and then she said that it wasn't illegal, even though it is in Indiana, like incest. She's like, "It's not illegal." And I told my cat like her that was her response, even though it is legal. But my thing is my counselor didn't even give a shit, like at all. She barely even cared. It was almost like she was defending like my mother. It was really weird. She was like a hardcore feminist too, so that's probably why. But it's like that's something you have to take into consideration when you go to a counselor. Do they
Right.
share the same beliefs as me?
Right. And my answer to that is no. No, they don't. Some therapists do, but most
Most
therapists just don't.
if you're getting a free counselor, so you don't have to spend thousands of dollars, they're probably going to drug you,
Right.
and they're probably going to give you a left wing feminist, more than likely. Not in all cases, but like 90-80%. It's not in your favor that you won't get one. So that's like the equivalent. Me as a male, I wouldn't consider myself like super conservative or anything, but they're too left wing, I think, for most men's liking, unless you're like a total beta cock. And what is it? And I guess what I'm saying with this is like I think it is important that if you get a counselor that they at least share some beliefs with you. I mean, you still need to make healthy choices and everything, but that's like the equivalent of being black and like your counselor is secretly the KKK. If you're a man and your feminist is and your sorry, yeah, if you're a man and your counselor's a left wing feminist, yeah, that's like the equivalent of that. This is gonna be working against you.
Right.
So
Right. Right. Now, some therapists will lead you down the wrong path. For instance,
mhm.
someone that's bullying you, that may be mad at you, and then your therapist tell you, try to get along with the person, try to make the person smile, laugh at the person. Well, deep down inside, if the person's mad at you, what I wouldn't do would be laughing, joking around, and thing like that. Now, some people are different. Some
Yeah.
people actually, I'm sorry for what I did or whatnot. Some people will still be mad at you,
Uh-huh.
and if you take it upon yourself to laugh at that person, if that person's mad at you, A, that person can hurt you. B, that person can do something else to you worse.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
I think there's also like I also what was I gonna say about the mental health? Like, what do you have any experience with it, or did you not like
Experience with what?
like a counselor or something?
Yeah. Yep. Experience was bad.
It was bad. Yeah, it's
Bad.
probably going to be.
It's like when I went to counseling groups and therapy, I didn't want to talk at all. Mostly I
Mhm.
went for my anger issues, as everyone claimed I have. But that anger issue came from society. The anger issue came from women. Anger issue really came from, the government and all that crap. That
Mhm.
time I never knew what was going on, but it was basically feminism and women and society and all that.
Yeah, I think that when I went, yeah, I would mainly my main prospects when I went was versus when I was a child. When I went to childhood, I guess it was about things that were happening in the home, and I guess as an adult, my early 20s, it was too. And I did share like things in my workplace, and um, I would always get mixed results from other people, I guess, because I would talk to the counselor and also share with friends and get their results. And I know that some people may have mental issues and they don't want to change. Then that's why there could be a conflict with their counselor. But I feel like mine was more like, again, my counselor just had an agenda that would conflict with the special interest of pretty much any male on the planet Earth, even the healthy ones. But they were pretty much trying to tell me that everything was my fault. When I felt like, not maybe I wasn't perfect, but I just felt like there was more to it. And yeah, MGTOW ultimately opened that up, not my counselor. I don't think my counselor would probably have too much of a cognitive bias with her preservation, her needs as a female, and all the stuff that goes to feminism to evaluate herself as well. But I would bring up one of the things I noticed, and I also saw this on other videos with single mothers, is like, and who else was it? Do you know a YouTuber called Boogie like 268? He's like that fat guy that has that lisp.
No, never heard of him. No.
Okay, so he's a very popular YouTuber. He's like he did like an persona or like an avatar, an ego, whatever you want to call it, some kind of like an alternative life on YouTube, but he'd have like a lisp that he doesn't normally have.
Right.
When he started talking normal, it just blew everybody away because they thought that's how he talked. So he did like parodies on pretty much his weight and nerdy stuff like video games and trading card games and everything. And I watched him a lot when I was younger, but MGTOW actually pulled up a video of him when he was talking about his mother, and he would share and he would say like the abuse and everything in his home, like nobody cared. And one thing struck me that I also saw in other videos was they would always like the police, the school, friends, everything. And my father was never really, he didn't really suck up to it, despite of hope my father never sees this podcast. I really love my father, but he's like a beta cuck in a lot of ways, but he wasn't a beta cuck on this subject, and oftentimes stood up for me. I don't know if that's because he just didn't like my mom as well, but anyways, they would always say this thing like, "Well, she's just stressed out." Like that's what they would say whenever she did something that was like illegal, over the hype, over the top. They would just say that, and it has to do with neoteny and people just feeling bad for single moms. I think it is, especially when there was like cops involved.
Right.
Like this was something I talked about. I'm like, how come cops always? If you notice that cops always overprotect women, well,
Absolutely.
I actually figured this out. I don't think that there's any kind of protocol in like the police force. There could be, but I don't think there is. I've talked to cops on forums and done all my research. My own personal opinion is, and I've found this statistic as well. I was meditating on this a while back. This still has to do with this topic. 80 to 90% of cops are trad cons. They're conservative.
Right.
They're ultra conservative. That's why. That's why they act like that, and they bring their morals with them to the workforce, separate to what the law says. If you do what the law says, a lot of these women would be in prison or some kind of punishment or rehabilitation program would be the nicest, because I think that there's something in me that's like, though they probably aren't rehabilitated. It's really hard to rehabilitate someone over a certain age. That's been scientifically proven. That's why, just real quick, before the age of 25, you'll see that people get lesser sentences, even if they're an adult, on things, because you can rehabilitate someone before that easy. After the age of 25, your neuro wiring stiffens, and then you're talking about a group of people that's like emotional and lack of self-awareness.
Yep.
So that's going to add to things on top of that too. But anyways, like, I guess there's something inside of me, as I was saying, that kind of, I guess I'm admitting I'm giving into their like neoteny, the evolution of women staying home. Essentially, we've talked about this before, but essentially, women stayed home all the time because they were the ones that gave birth. And if there was any physical, emotional harm, while they were 9 months pregnant, it could kill the baby. And if that happened too many times, your tribe would go extinct. That's essentially all that it is. What we call cute. We call it cute. But I guess I'm giving into it. I have a little bit, but I do think that they can't just go around like abusing their kids. It's unacceptable.
That's true.
Yeah,
Absolutely true.
but yeah, that's something that people would often say, that they would say that the single mother is just stressed out. But I mean, if you look at what was it? I mean, I guess what I'm about to say too is, if you look at the total number, even though in America, anyways, there's not a lot of men with some. I've seen mixed. See, I've seen some MGTOW say it's 50%, some MGTOW. I still think that 90% of the time, maybe it's slightly different in some states, but I think 90% of the time in America, women get full custody. I think that's right, in my opinion. There may be a few states or cities that's different, but for the most part, I'll say that's the standard. And where I'm going with this is like if you look at the total number of abuse cases, for the total number of single mothers, for the total number of men that have it, for the percentage of men that have it versus the percentage of men that have full custody, the abuse is higher, much higher in females than in men. I think it's like 1 in 10 for single fathers and 8 out of 10 for single mothers. And whether that's a spouse with the Cinderella syndrome shit, where you have someone that's kind of just there for, some orifices, and the kid's being annoying or something, and he goes off because it's not his DNA.
Right.
But also just the mothers in general, and also there's like even really high sexual abuse cases, even when there's not a single father involved. Like the child molestation cases could be much higher, but they're probably not being reported because a lot of times women don't even have to register as sex offenders if they do something or be charged at all. If they are charged, they get released early. So that's one thing to take into consideration. But it's like if they're so impulsive, single mothers are so impulsive and they're so stressed out and they can't handle it. Well, I know why they're giving them main custodies, because they can tax child support.
Right.
And then they also get fees just for going to court because there's a whole fucking private sector. Now we're kind of going off topic, but I think it does have to do with mental health because you're going to become mentally ill being in that situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But like, there's a whole sector dedicated, a huge sector. It's actually really big. Little subsectors, with it, just for child support, because they make a lot of money off of it. And yeah, that's what it is. Because very clearly, at least the women in America, maybe there's some more traditional women somewhere else. Maybe theoretically it could work, but I'm just saying, for what I see, they very clearly don't deserve main custody. In fact, they very clearly don't deserve to be like in the child's life at all, even as a 50-50 child. Maybe they just need them on the weekends, like the fathers get. But
And
I'm
then they
also.
go.
Yeah,
And then they go to therapy, and that does not help because women get out of therapy and have this same behavior.
Yeah, because they actually. I'll say this: it was apparent enough that they made my mother go to parenting classes, but it didn't do anything. Like you said, it's not gonna do anything most of the time. If they're 30 something, it's probably not gonna do anything.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the programming, I guess good brainwashing, you can call it, needs to be done as early as possible. And the thing about that, I wouldn't say, I'm not trying to be weird, but like I've seen the pictures of my mom when she was younger too. She wasn't really the best looking, but even like your average looking woman, because of like, every man secretly wants to sleep with her, like in their head, and
Right.
type thing. I guess Bill Burr talked about this. And just other women giving each other a thumbs up for literally everything that they do. They're probably going to go in their 20s when they need the most counseling and mediation and little nudges, aren't going to get it through their teens and in their 20s. They're not going to get that little discipline.
Yep.
So, because like I remember, what was it? Like even I didn't understand this till later. My grandfather, and I've seen this happen before. My grandfather would just support like every single thing that she did. He didn't even care. Like he was mad at my father. Give me a second.
Yeah.
I was mad at my father, or he was mad at my father. And he would always say, "Why do you still love your father?" Because of all the stuff that he supposedly did. But then my mother could do something, and he wouldn't even care, like
Yep.
at all. He would. That's his kin. But well, yeah, just give me a second. Yeah, just a lot of I think I knew it, like, in the back of my head what was going on, but I think I fought myself because of all the societal pressure and how they thought I should behave, and if I didn't behave a certain way, I was bad. I think that's what really kept me kind of exploring the truth. And I think eventually, I think a lot of MGTOW have this problem, but I think we get to a point where it's like, I can't, this is ridiculous. And we just snap. And we don't care what anybody thinks anymore.
Nope. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. I felt that therapy didn't help me out.
Yeah.
Felt that cleaning up, working out is my therapy, and MGTOW content is my therapy. And then other YouTube that's non-MGTOW, that was my therapy.
Yeah. I don't think that MGTOW is right about everything though, but it reemerges what we already knew, is what it does.
Yep.
And that really gets shifted up when we read it. It kind of reminds me of the Matrix movie, Red and Blue Pill.
Right.
Where was it? Morpheus was giving Neo that little rant while they're taking a walk in the town. That's what that feels like. And it just, like I said, every single thing just resurfaced. And, it saves lives. It really does, because I was suicidal for a good portion of my childhood, teens, and early 20s, and that has decreased significantly. And a lot of other men say the same thing once being introduced to MGTOW.
Yep. Watching a lot of MGTOW content, that definitely, got me to explore the truth about society, women, and this world in general. When I went to real therapists, that actually didn't help me out. It just put me back in a hole where I was before.
I agree, and part of it is because we're supposed to be able to trust our counselors. And they're supposed to be able to steer us in the right directions, supposedly. And you can get good counselors. There are more conservative counselors, but of course you're probably going to have to pay for them, which is going to cost thousands of dollars. So most people don't have the money.
Absolutely.
Even someone that made $50K a year would have trouble paying for one of these counselors.
Yep.
And that's pretty good money, actually.
I was in these therapist groups too. I never really actually talked. I didn't actually feel like opening up. I didn't feel like it really explaining my whole situation.
Yeah.
You had some people that was rude too. So.
Yep. That's one of the. I'll say this: they try to put me in those groups too, and part of it is I'm not trying to be mean or open up, because I was diagnosed with autism or whatever.
Right.
But some of these people's mental health issues, I don't know. Like, they seem like they need a lot of work before they can go into a group. And they'll just stick these people in a group. I'm just trying to be as nice as possible. But I really do get how some people may not want to hang out with a mentally ill person.
Right.
Actually, I think you saw one of my podcasts on this. I said you liked it. It said that 50% of people with mental illness, and I think it's higher, but I would say 50% is a good median, are doing heavy substance abuse. That's going to add complexity onto the mental illness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of people in these groups are just like that. And so, like, is that if you're having mental problems, I don't know if it's a good idea. I know this sounds really bad, but they need to put people in a group that's like on the same place,
Right.
not mix people who don't have severe trauma issues be stuck in a room with the kid that's like going to snap any second. But that's not what they do most of the time. So they just stick everything. I don't think that's a good idea, especially when you're like a teenager or something and you're still developing.
And medication is the worst. Taking
Yes.
medication for mental illness
Mhm.
is not the answer. In my opinion, it's not. Some people it works for some people, and some people it don't.
I think it should be a last resort.
Yeah.
If they're so fucked up that it's just better off that they're zombified, and you haven't tried therapy yet, okay, or therapy didn't work. Okay, therapy hasn't worked. It's
Right.
not working at all. They're just completely fucked for whatever reason. Yes, but you don't give people. It's essentially if you look up the origin. Do you know the origin of the pills and stuff?
Yes.
So it's essentially a chemical lobotomy without actually having a lobotomy, like a permanent lobotomy. It does the exact same thing. It like cuts off part of your like how I say it like numbs and deactivates part of your brain. And in fact, an alternative name for at least antipsychotics, there's different things, is a horse tranquilizer.
Right.
So they're giving you sedatives. And in fact, they give people, to back up my point, I've had my own doctor in the past that I had tell me, verify this for me. And she goes, well, some people need it. I do agree with her with that. But what was it? They give it to people in nursing homes, not because supposedly a lot of the crap. I mean, if you dig, it depends on who you talk to, but a lot of face surface websites and stuff and counselors like you, like the little, I wouldn't call them counselors, but like the people that try to figure out where you're supposed to go with your counseling. At face surface, they're gonna say, it balances out chemicals. But then why did they give it to old people in nursing homes? And then the complaint is the people in the nursing homes don't want to, because they said they give it to people in nursing homes so it's easier to manage. And it's not just Alzheimer's dementia patients either. And so it's in the count and the people complain that they can't think right, they can't remember things like their past, giving the medication and stuff like that, and it just like sedates them and turns them into a zombie because it makes them easier to manage. And the
Right.
resources that it's going to take to help a lot of people. And I know women can be shitty, but I just got to say this real quick. I really do feel bad for women with mental illnesses because they're going to struggle being an emotional creature that's not really lacks self-awareness. Is going to struggle.
Yep.
Like in the past, do you want to know what they did to women that had that were raped or traumatized or something like that?
Oh,
They'd
sure.
kill
Oh, sure.
them. They would kill them because
Wow.
they didn't know what to do with them. That's actually the story behind Medusa. The creature that's turns you to stone. If you look at her,
Yes.
that's actually the origin of Medusa. Because back then because they didn't know what to do. Because pretty much once a woman gets fucked up like that, and you'll see
Yep.
this in movies, like you took away, have you ever noticed it's a big difference if you take away a female's? And I actually agree. We could say it's a double standard, but I think it's kind of necessary in most cases. There are some men that aren't as resilient, and it's whatever. We can make fun of them, whatever. But some men aren't very resilient to things. I would just say I'm maybe a little average resilient because I definitely didn't go unscathed with my issues. I had to work through it. It was very hard. But when women they get a severe issue, they seem to never heal from it, especially when it happens during a certain time frame. They seem to never get over it, and it seems to fuck them up forever. So in the past, they would literally just kill their daughters. They would do this. They do this in Middle Eastern countries too. I know it's messed up. That's why I brought it up. It actually is upsetting because I saw your reaction. It is upsetting, but if you think about it, one of the things is I don't go too off topic. We have to understand that the people of the past lived in high survival society.
Yep.
There were people dying like every second around them. Compared to today, yeah, sometimes people die, but it's not turn your back and half your family's dead type thing.
Right.
And so, we've conquered nature or whatever. But back then, we have to, like, everybody's against human sacrifice. I'm against human sacrifice. Okay? But, there's a psychological component behind it, too, just to get this out of the way for why they killed their daughters when they became mentally ill. So the daughter was probably violent, causing issues, and you just can't have that. And they weren't self-aware of everything.
Nope.
So they killed them. That was the best they could do. I know that sounds really bad, but you have to put yourself in their shoes. Like, have you ever watched a horror movie? And what was it? Ever watched a horror movie or some kind of survival movie where they had to kill someone because they were acting erratic or knock them out or something?
Yes.
Yes. That's why they did that, for that exact same reason. So, and a lot of times I would say you can relate in those movies when you watch them. Yeah, this is the same thing. So, what was I going to say? No, it's just like human sacrifice. What I was going to say was the whole point of the psychological concept around human sacrifice was commitment to doing something. If you were willing to kill somebody for a god, it means that you're serious.
Yes.
Especially if it was like, if you read the Bible, forget what the guys were. Sure, you read the Bible. Forget his name because I read the Bible, but I don't know all the characters. I'm not a Christian or anything. But there's like one thing in there that slipped. Remember that God was like testing that guy? He's like, to go kill your son. He's like, oh, no, I was just testing you. Don't really do it. And that's the exact same thing because the whole point of that was to test him how serious he was committed to God.
You talk about the Cain and Abel story?
No.
Not that one.
Further.
Okay.
God told the character in the Bible to go kill his son. And then he would bring him up to the mountaintop. And then when he was about to kill him with a dagger, he said, don't kill your son. What are you doing? I was just testing you. And a lot of people think it's silly or that the God was psychotic. But again, you have to understand. They have to understand that back then they were in very high survival. And I guess theoretically, I'll just bring this in for small talk, even though it's not a topic. I believe that they like tapped into something spiritually, and it's really like, have you seen the chakras and everything, and the root chakra and everything like that? Well, it's really hard to get out of the root chakra when there's literally barbarians at the gate and diseases everywhere. So they tapped into something, and it was really hard to stay grounded when all this stuff was in there. So they tapped into like what I like to call like the 0-point grid, or God consciousness, like this higher consciousness and self-awareness and this infinite intelligence. But it's really hard to tap into it and stay focused. And when there's literally this like wild animal, it's high survival, okay? And that's why they did that to kind of program their mind. And, when you don't know what to do, if you don't have really the time to sit there and study everything because everyone's dying around you, you're going to use law of attraction. And this is my opinion, but they tapped into law of attraction. And they needed to stay focused in that. And that's hard to do, again, when the barbarian's knocking at the gate all the time. So that's what it is. But yeah, they would kill women back then for mental illnesses because they didn't know what to do with them. That's why Muslims have their women stay home all the time. Because they don't want their wives to get raped and all that shit. Yeah, I understand we shouldn't rape, but at the same time, there's some crazy mofos out there that don't care. It doesn't matter what you tell them. They just don't care. So that's why I get on feminists too, because they're like, tell men not to rape. It's like, even if we do this, I understand that maybe we shouldn't let our boys have the boys be boys thing with like pinching butts and everything like that, like random women's butts. But at the same time, there's certain people, it doesn't matter what we tell them. And they don't get this. They can't do everything about all the psychopaths. But yeah, so yeah.
Best way you can do it just to avoid all that.
Yeah.
And just continue to learn,
Yeah. And And it's a good thing that MGTOW is going towards younger men because, as I said before, the older you get, the harder it is to change yourself.
Yeah.
I'm glad I found it in my early 20s.
It's like everything I came across besides MGTOW, it helped me out and then it slipped me back into a deeper hole. Like it didn't help at all.
Yeah, MGTOW can. It depends on. You have to be careful. Are you black or red pilled?
I am red pill.
A black pill. There's a lot of black pilled MGTOW, and that's what's going to set you back. Yeah. I'm gonna say it's just they have, in my opinion, black pill is someone that hasn't healed through the red pill rage. They need to do self evaluation, and like, do you still have? And it's fine if you do you still have the random like anger spells, or is that gone for the most part, or gone completely?
Random spells. What do you mean by that?
A spell is like a time, like a time period. They call it, that's just the terminology. So just like a time period in which you have something, a time frame.
I think those are completely gone. Completely gone.
Okay, same here. Yeah. I believe that those, like, I forget what it was. I don't want to talk too much crap. If he hears it, I don't care. I'm saying just so you know, I think it was like MGTOW Knowledge Guy or whatever. He was in the group at one point. If he sees this, like, I'm not saying it's out of mean, but I do feel like I was talking about this girl I was talking in Pakistan, and I say it was a completely different experience than talking with a girl in America. Like, completely different experience. And she was very intelligent, and she was emotionally collected. And she was very submissive, too. And I was telling him my experience, and he's like, was she from America? And I just felt like when he got mad like that, I didn't want to sound like I was being disrespectful. I was just trying to mimic him.
Right.
But he seemed like he just snapped, and he would snap at everything and raise his voice and get really emotional, and I would say borderline saying that I'm a piece of shit, borderline. And I forgive him and everything, but it's like I don't feel like he's healed. He hasn't healed. He was very black-pilled. And I just don't believe that all females are the same. I do not believe this. I think that I think there's a lot of unhealthy women too. Like, one of my best examples is I'll talk to other MGTOW about this. I'll say like, I would say, if they didn't have birth control and everything, do you really think that they'd be in child support and everything like this? And the courts mafia with them. Do you think that they'd be dating the bad boy as much as having kids with them?
Yep, they would.
You think that? Well, then they would die off.
Yeah.
See, the tribe,
yeah.
the tribe would die off if they dated men like that, because then you would have no family structure.
Absolutely.
And obviously there would have had to have been women that didn't do that, or they wouldn't be here today.
Yep.
Yeah. So not all women are like that. What's happened is we've conquered, and if I talk with other MGTOW, they'll agree with me. It's like, so you do agree with me? You do agree it's not supposed to be like this? It's like this, and I think I said this many times. I'm not going to rant because I've said it so many times. There's things in our environment that aren't like they normally would be, and it's hyped up her natures and off balanced her natures. Which you can see this with other animals too. Like, what was it? They were saying, like, because of like the cities and stuff like that, like like the cities and animal nature. This is a good example. There's a study, you can look this up. Female coyotes are acting more aggressively, and they're not mating as much because of human interaction.
Right.
That can happen with people too. Things in the environment can change behaviors in animals, and so we are animals. We are a living creature, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is happening. I don't think that they're supposed to be like this. We haven't been, if you look at human history, even with the most advanced civilizations for their times, we've never had nature conquered like it is now.
Mm.
Almost a lot of those pressures are gone. Even down to cleaning, getting a bite of food, all completely different now. And so they get to relax a bit. They don't have to wash their ass as much, but you also have to take in consideration that if they do something bad within the social order, they'll also get away with it. For the most part, I mean, there's some hockey mask guy that's not going to put up with it. He's over the edge, and they'll end up on the news. But for the most part, most men will not do this. Mm-mm. It would take a lot for them to do that. But yeah, so that's what I think it is. That's what I think it is. I'm not a no-wall, and I get so much. I mean, I am a no-wall. Sorry, no women are like that, and I get so much crap from people for being a no-wall MGTOW because most of them are so bitter, and I understand why. I'm not trying to clout. I do understand why, but that doesn't mean that I should just let them just not say anything here and there when they're in this state. And they do need to work on themselves. And as a man, I would not be doing my job by not being honest and pointing it out. That's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah. Some therapists try to label me that way, that I have a mental illness, but that all came from society. That came from family, women in the family, these blue pill men in the family, and it came from society.
Mm-hmm.
And therapy didn't help. It didn't help at all.
Yeah, it probably won't. But yeah, I do think a lot of they have 20 different bipolars now. Now these what they call it, Combrid or something like that.
I mean schizophrenia, not bipolar. They claimed I was a schizophrenia, but I'm not.
Do you have a religious belief or something that they would say that? Because they try to diagnose religious people with schizophrenia all the time.
Christian.
You're not religious? You're Christian?
Christian,
okay. Yeah. Okay. They may or may not do that. But if you have a cultic belief like me, people would, or at least people that would consider the occult, they try to diagnose me with schizophrenia, and they actually try to diagnose me with Down syndrome at one point. I'm not even joking. Now that sounds like an insult.
Yeah.
It's because of my eyes. I don't have my eyes. I actually suspect that I could have fetal alcohol syndrome, but I've not been diagnosed or anything. But Greta, what's her name? Greta Thunberg.
Right.
I kind of slightly, but not as bad. I have a similar facial structure to her, but I actually think it makes me look younger. But anyways, and I remember this even though my dad rejects it. I remember him telling me that she was drinking while my mother was drinking while I was pregnant. But now he says that he didn't say that. But I remember him saying this.
Right.
But I don't know. I haven't been diagnosed, so I don't know. Because I don't have a legal right to say that I do. But it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, they try to label anybody that's not. I mean, it's behavioral control. They want people in society to have certain behaviors that they think would be productive to society. I do agree that some of the people that they label sometimes do have mental problems.
Yeah. Here's a theory right here. Everyone has some type of pre-mental illness. Not fully, but some type of pre-mental illness.
Okay.
The whole world is just sick.
Okay. That way. I can believe that to an extent. I think it'd be very hard to. What would you think would be close to barely having anything? I guess I have something in mind. I guess I was saying a Buddhist, if you're a Tibetan monk type person, that's been doing it a long time. I think they're pretty close to not having anything. Unless you want to label them schizophrenic because they have some beliefs that would be a little can't prove by science type thing.
Right. But the people that's really quiet, they don't really have anything.
Oh yeah, they probably don't. They could keep it quiet, but I guess I will admit that the people that are more aggressive tend to have something that went on in childhood or something because they're in the survival mode. Like what the part of your brain that activates aggression is is interacted with, developed a lot during your childhood because that's when you're vulnerable. In fact, your neurocortex, we don't really run off our neurocortex as much,
Right.
even though it is constantly developing. But at the age of 25, they say that you have your adult brain.
Right.
And so the whole time before that, you're mainly running off of your primal brain. So if something happens in your childhood, that's going to affect your development. But that's why, you can almost tell, like, it's not really normal to be overly aggressive over everything. But that means that they consider things preservation. They make attachments with things with preservation that most people wouldn't. It's like if you bump into them, or like a lot of people that were raped as a child or molested or hurt or beaten, touching them can actually, like, even if you're just trying to nudge them to see if they're okay or it's an accident, they'll freak out.
Right.
Yeah. And yeah. So I think it's kind of sad though at the same time because, I guess if the Jesus stuff works for people, that's what I tell people. I go, if you have like a severe mental illness, I'm not a Christian, but like I would just try it because you literally have, according to science, you literally have nothing to lose. Like you're completely fucked according to science if you have a certain childhood and everything like that. Like most of the time most people are gonna struggle for the rest of their lives according to science, and I agree with this.
Yep.
And like if the Jesus stuff works or Buddhism or whatever you want to do, I would try it because you don't have anything to lose. I'm not trying to like push religious beliefs on everybody, but I'm just like some other options because otherwise it's just gonna struggle. And maybe it won't work for them. Maybe it won't work, but I don't know. I think if you're that desperate, you should just be trying everything.
I would find something that works for me. Of course, make time content, working out, cleaning up, playing video games, you name it.
Yep.
And isolate yourself from the negativity.
Yep, if you can. Yep. I didn't really have that option a lot of times, so I can tone things out that other people can't. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, if somebody was getting beat up, like in front of me or stabbed, it's gonna seem fucked up, but I legitimately think I could tone it out and just sit there and not care. But I'm not even joking. It's like a coping mechanism that I had developed. I could just go into this like unemotional state. It's like numbing, and then not care.
But you kind of like feel energies, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like blocking everything out and like kind of like a tunnel vision type thing.
I felt the same way when I had a problem with my ex landlord and my ex friend. I was supposed to go by their house. I went by the house on my bicycle, and I felt some type of like dark energy come from there. So I just basically rode my bike back home.
Yeah, I think that also men are more susceptible to getting that way too, and societal pressure because, okay, again, it has to do with this. I'm trying not to circle anything, but like, okay, we're not the ones that have babies, so if we have, we have to help make it, but we don't get pregnant 9 months. Right. So if we're stressed out, it doesn't kill the baby like it does a woman necessarily, because if a woman's too stressed out, it can kill the baby.
Right.
And so we're supposed to be the ones that are supposed to deal with the stress. Like a lot of women say they don't like emotional men. Well, they say it both ways. They say when they do like them, they don't. But a lot of women want, no matter what they say, a man that has his emotions under control. And that's why. Because he's supposed to be dealing with everything in the world and fighting everything, and he doesn't really have time to be emotional. She doesn't want to take care of anybody. She doesn't want to take care of him anyway. So she wants to be taken care of.
Right.
Yeah, that's ultimately what it is in survival. But okay, I'm going to bring this up. It's not too off topic. There was a guy that kind of challenged me on this belief. So my belief right now, mainly, I am willing to change if enough evidence is presented. And all like, if you just completely want me and I can't say anything, I will change. So
Right.
but right now I'm like, everything's instinct until we gene edit. This is how it's going to be. That's my main mindset. This guy presented this thing with like, okay, if we're self-aware, like he was complete. I have it on my Facebook somewhere. He was like saying, "Why do I have to jump through all these hoops to get a girl?"
Right.
Okay, and she has all, and the minute she finds something better, she's gonna do this and that. Why do I have to go through all these rituals? He's like, we're humans. We're not a bunch of sub animals. Like we're not a peacock and I have to flutter my feathers to get you. He's like, we're self-aware enough of everything that why do I have to do this? It just doesn't seem very like adult. It doesn't seem like a human thing. Like
Right.
we're not monkeys, right? That's his, and I kind of agree with it. But my other thing is like you have to have like it's genetic. How developed your neurocortex is able to get is actually genetic. I don't
Yep.
know if you knew that or not. So that
Yeah.
means intelligence is genetic, which we know it is. As you can
Yep.
see this with every other animal, subspecies of animal, except with dogs, especially. Not all dogs have the same intelligence level. We're okay with that, but we're not okay with humans. But what I'm trying to say is like most humans think with their emotions. They make
Yep.
decisions with their emotions. And you have to have us think it's like 20% of the population has the ability to override those emotions. Because the thing is, most humans, they can't bring the subconscious or what it is to the conscience. So they can know, like you can ask them, like, okay, why do humans act this way and this in evolution? But when it comes to in the moment and walking throughout their life, they can't apply it. They can't apply it. And like there's people like 120 IQ or something like that, which is what they say it has to be at to get that helicopter view, self-awareness of everything. And most of them struggle with it. So like very small percentage of the population, in my opinion anyways, in science opinion, can actually, I guess, apply it. That's the best way I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But I know how to describe that. So it's like, so it just, I think that I get the point that the other person was making. And I guess to an extent we do, but we would have to have like, in my opinion, maybe we would have to have the entire civilization pressure and stuff to go along with that, to go along with this, what he's trying to say. As of right now, they're not even making us self-aware of it. And you know, you'd have to apply it the whole time. And then that would like, okay, real quick. Have you noticed that whenever they come out with the science, like, okay, when they were talking about microchimerism, or they talk about intelligence and race, or they talk about intelligence and family bloodlines or anything like that, it's out for a while. But have you noticed that they kind of throw it away if it's anything that ruffles the feathers of the social order?
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yep.
like microchimerism, almost every single continent has talked about this. They may not have said it in that way. They may not have known about DNA, but they knew that like this, they called it a soul, is what they called it.
Yep.
And that it could go into like it would affect her baby and it would go into her and change her, and it would and then all of a sudden, oh, that pisses people off because that takes away the power away from feminists. Oh, we don't trust that anymore. Like if you were to ever say like either individual families, or what is it, races having tendency towards certain things, it'll piss people off, and they don't want to. Yeah, they don't want to. What is it? Yeah, they don't want to like talk about it anymore, and it's not relevant anymore. But then they'll say, "Oh, what is it? What's his name? Crap. Who's that guy who's that guy that is with Tesla and he funds the rockets and he's at competition with Jeff Bezos all the time?"
I'm not sure. Have to look that
It's
up.
like he's like a billionaire, and I don't. Elon Musk. He
Yeah, I think
brags.
yeah, I think that's
Science
what
in
it
the
is.
media. Science in the media is okay with telling him that he's genetically a genius, but then like at a local level, it's not allowed. So, but what I'm going with this ultimately is like there's been proofs, and we know this for sure. Like, okay, like here's proof that we know that it does, but they won't apply it to because they don't want to piss off anybody. Like if you look at the transgender people,
Right.
if you look at the people advocating for this stuff and the doctors that studied and developed the hormone replacement therapy for these people, like they're very sexist.
Right.
Like, and when you get the therapy, like if you look at, because they a lot of these transgender people, they want to feel important. I get it as a human being.
Yeah.
I just really hope they're doing it for like a legit reason and not just because they want clout. Because I'm pretty sure that because a lot of people that are transgenders suffer from a lot of mental health issues because of the therapy and everything.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not against it, I guess, 100%, but I'm mostly against it because people don't do it for the right reasons. But anyways, like they claim that there's a change in their personality and their mannerisms, the way they think, and their voice and everything else.
Right.
And so that's okay. And it's okay for the feminists to admit this, but then when you admit it with anything else, it's bad. And this is why I think we're having issues too, because I see a potential, we could maybe try to teach like your average IQ person young and put the pressure on them.
Right.
And change them, but we don't want to do that because it just pisses too many people off. But I was like thinking maybe we could override, but it looks like gene editing is the only thing that's going to do the trick, in my opinion, because we obviously can't handle it, and that's causing mental health issues too, because we're making women handle things like emotionally that they can't handle, and then that's what's that phrase? Like the shit travels down the hill or something like that.
Yep.
So everything's getting passed on to them, and they just seem to absorb everything. And then they snap, and then that gets taken out on the beta boyfriend, the kids, the dog, and maybe the cockroaches in the crawl space. But it gets taken. We need therapy for them too. But I'm just saying, like, yeah. So there's a lot. I guess I have a more. I guess I'm somewhat empathetic. On the like, I don't know if this is. I don't know what you think about this, but if you're not as empathetic as me, that's fine. But
Right.
I actually feel really bad for women because there's like nothing they could do about it for the most part, and it's like the best thing I can maybe say is sorry, but it's the way that they evolved. It was the best strategy for the tribes
Right.
is to keep them home and protect them. But like, I guess I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry because that was literally the best strategy, and we probably would have died off if we didn't have that strategy. If it wasn't from other humans, it would be from some wild animal that would have picked us off. We weren't always on top of the food chain.
You have some women too.
My thing is,
but you have some women too that's on like illegal drugs like cocaine and all this other stuff.
Yep.
They get help and they get therapy, and that doesn't work, and then they go back to phase one, which is doing drugs.
Essentially, my phrase: once a woman gets fucked up, especially like in her early years, she's fucked up forever.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, she's fucked up. Nothing you can do. If maybe the Jesus stuff works for some people, but scientifically, she's fucked up forever. My opinion, anyways. And for even most people, I would say that I do think that men have a bit better chance if they get help early, no matter it's MGTOW or anything else. If they can figure it out early, they're usually okay. I do believe that. I believe most men have the ability to have some sort of self-awareness. You know,
Right.
but yeah, that's like one of the biggest things is we're not. It's primal. I know it seems primal because we're stronger. Okay, in general, there are some women that can pull it off. Sometimes women get the lucky lottery ticket with their genes,
Right.
and they don't have to deal with that. But we're talking about generalizations. But yeah, I agree with you, and it's really sad. And how do I say this? It was something that was hard for me to accept. But it is better to accept it than to keep lying to yourself and just saying, "Oh, we could just fix it. We could just do therapy. We can just take pills." Much better to accept the truth and be awakened than keep doing what they're doing. But
My ex friend, for instance, she suffered from bipolar, epilepsy. She did a lot of prostitution. She did all lot of this stuff, and she was still at the bottom. And when I mean at the bottom there, she was still doing drugs, prostitution, and the therapy that she went to. I think the guy was stuck up. He had an attitude
mhm.
because she asked the therapist that can you counsel my friend? He was like, no, I don't want to counsel him. I said, okay, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, you could. I'm not sure what you mean, but you could tell that you were really blue pilled.
Yeah.
You pretty much dated a red flag, like a living embodiment of a red flag.
Yeah, at that time I wanted sex, and
Yep.
then basically when I came across MGTOW, I didn't want sex no more.
Yeah, I still have some spells of that, but it's like I'm also like traumatized from dating.
Right.
So it's easy to whatever, you're gonna push it aside. But I do have, like I said last time, and I know I was getting crap for it, like one of the things I'm struggling with right now, I'm just being honest, my instincts are going off to reproduce.
Yep.
Because I'm 29 now, and that's what usually happens to men and women in their 30s. They don't have kids yet, their instincts go off. My instinct is like reproduce, reproduce, reproduce. Even though I don't have like the same biological clock that women have.
Right.
They say that sperm quality decreases real quick, but actually they say that if older men have kids that live longer,
Yep.
because they say that the sperm gives the kids more telomere length, and they have less health issues. I don't know
Right.
how true that is, but there's not a lot of stuff debunking it. So, but anyways, it could be true. I don't know. But anyways, I was gonna say real quick. Speaking of what you were saying, and a lot of it is we want female validation because at that time you probably still cared about your position in society.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
Female validation equals I'm important, I'm valuable, I'm not a piece of shit, and it also indicates survival. Like I know that men are more independent, but we do have a better survival rate, working with a group. So when men get kicked out, feel like they're being kicked out, survival instinct does kick in. And more so with females. But we care about the social order too a lot of times. And what's gonna share the story about my dad. My dad was dating a bipolar X2, very crazy. She tried to. I think I told you this. She tried to shoot my dad with a gun.
Wow.
And it went off and everything. He didn't just aim it. She pulled the bullets. And they didn't put her in jail again. I don't know if she would do well in jail. I actually don't want her to go to jail, believe it or not. Just like mental hospital stuff.
Right.
But the police came and took her gun, everything. But which they should have. Or at least if she could, I'll go into that later. But when she died, I'm like, why did you date her for? And like my dad's a shy. I actually helped my dad with dating, even though I'm against it. He isn't, so I gave in to his needs. But anyways, he's shy, and he's like a beta provider type person, whatever.
Right.
Maybe a little bit tougher than some of the other ones. But I'm not just saying that. I do think he's tougher than a lot of modern beta males, but he's still pretty bad. And he's not up to my standards that I would like to have. I had to find another male role model, unfortunately, other than him. I love him because he's my dad.
Right.
Pretty much. I don't know if I would hang out with him if he wasn't my dad. I really hope he never finds this podcast when this is being on. But anyways, he told me that because his girlfriend also tried to, real quick before I go to this, because I don't know how to integrate this.
Right.
Tried to kill my sister too. Like my dad had to pull Leslie off of him because when he found her, she was on top of my sister and her face was blue. She was strangling my sister. And the reason for that was because she thought there was a guy that was about to, he wanted to be a country artist and he wanted to go to college for music.
Right.
And so he was showing off his skills at a campfire. All cool. Then Lauren left to go to her friend's house, or a friend there that she was friends with. But she, because of her bipolar, her mind wandered, made up a story that Lauren was going to go sleep with the guy in the guitar. And Lauren was like 10 or 11 at the time, maybe 12. This did not happen. She was over at a friend's house. The friend, the mom, and everything, and the friend verified this. But she strangled my sister anyways, tried to kill her. And anyways, where I'm going with this is, like, I brought these things up to my father. He's like, but I needed vagina. That also very upset me. Because you're going to let yourself die and my sister, you're okay with it. Because he didn't leave her on his own free will.
Right.
She had to be killed in order, or she died, whatever you want to call it. She had to be taken off the earth through a car crash or whatever,
right,
in order to not be with him. He would, if he had his choice, he would have stayed with her. He was also afraid that he wouldn't get anything else because it was very hard for him. Because he's like, when I used to be more of a beta, I would say real quick, I guess I am insecure about this.
right.
I don't consider myself a beta male. I consider myself someone that has control over their emotions.
Right.
That's why I'm like monotone and everything. I wasn't always like this. I have control over my emotions. That's not the same as being a beta male. My thing is, he was afraid that he would never get anybody again. And I get that. But he was willing to go. This doesn't really surprise me, seeing the environment that men can go. They will backstab each other. Not all men, not a MGTOW man, not a true one. But
Right.
men will backstab each other for a girl. They can.
I've seen that a lot of times.
Yeah.
A lot of times. I never really backstabbed a man to actually get sex.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that came through me just jumping through hoops.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. I've never backstabbed any. I've gotten aggressive,
Right.
but I wouldn't say I was backstabbed a friend or anything like that. But I was very hurt by what he said, because he essentially said that he didn't care that, like, him being shot and my sister being strangled and all the other things that she did. I'll tell you one more story to see how bad this person was, but
right.
He did it all because he didn't think he could get any more vagina. That's why. And she was overweight. She was a big fat ogre monster. Like, remember that show, Squidbillies?
No, I never watched that.
Well, there was a show where this squid creature had a giant girlfriend that was like almost bedridden.
Right.
She looked just like that girl. And he thought he wasn't going to get anything else. And he made good money. He was making $30 an hour, which is above average. He's making good money. He lived in a trailer because he just liked trailers. I know that's weird. I'm actually the same way. But the point is, like, it's like small and easy to take care of. But anyways, he what was it? Yeah, he would do all that just to get vagina. Like, this woman was so bad. Just tell the story real quick. So my dad had diabetes, and he is an alcoholic. He was an alcoholic. Okay, he is one now, but he would drink vodka with diabetes. And so he would have situations where his blood sugar got out of control. And one day, his blood sugar was out of control, and she went on spending sprees, reckless spending.
Right.
and she had bills behind, and my dad didn't want to keep paying her bills all the time. So he was having a blood sugar issue where he was kind of like in a state where he wasn't in there. And she decided that she was going to try to take advantage, although thank God it was so bad that he couldn't respond. I know that's bad.
Right.
We did get him insulin and a 911 on hold, just in case, eventually. But this disgusted me. She sat there while he was in this state and tried to get his bank PIN number instead of getting him insulin and 911. Yeah, he could have went to a coma. She was willing to do this, but he didn't care about any of this because vagina, and it wasn't even very. I mean, I didn't test out this thing. I wasn't going to. I have to kill myself or something. But like my friend always made this joke, oh, your dad's broken. Well, my dad has, I don't really know who to blame. I guess it's a big mess. But my dad got those mental issues that he has. He didn't even start drinking until he was with her.
Right.
But because all her messed upness, that went on to him. But I guess he did choose to be with her. But my thing is, she was more intelligent than him or manipulative than him, and because of that, I do blame it on her. Because if you're manipulating someone, like you can actually go to prison for brainwashing people.
Absolutely.
So if you're intelligent enough that you're able to control someone like that, I do believe that she's more responsible, in my opinion. But he could have said no, to the relationship, but he just couldn't do it. And plus, she lived down that's another thing. Don't date your neighbors, by the way. She lived down the street.
Oh, no. Nope.
And it's really hard to break up with someone that lived right down the street. Like literally just a couple houses. It wasn't like turning a couple of lanes. Just houses down. And so that's hard to do. And so that's what also caused the problem. But yeah, he was willing to put himself through. And then once she died a couple of years later,
right,
like after all the names he called me, like I said, it's okay to admire good times you had with her. It's okay this, but like, Dad, it wasn't good for you. It would have never gotten anywhere. And then it took him years. He apologized for all the names he called me. As much as I love my father, he is, I'll just be honest, that's what we want as men.
Right.
He's a beta male. That's what the problem is. And, I don't think he's going to change. And I think part of it is he grew up in the 70s, and he thinks that being a nice guy is the way to go. And it's not anymore. If you are a nice guy today, you'll be taken advantage of. Even by other men.
Get taken advantage of, too.
Yeah, even by other men, too. Not just women. Especially women, but other men as well. I mean, that's the world we live in today. You can't be a nice guy. I'm not saying you can't be nice to anybody, that you need to be selective. We don't live in a Pakistani village where everybody needs each other to survive. Or directly. We don't live in a small Pakistani tribal village. Yep. People can get by not being nice. So, in working together. So, fortunately, that's one bad thing about, we talk about psychology. The robotized world is actually going to make people, in my opinion, more psychopathic, because we're not going to need each other anymore. We don't really need as much teamwork.
Nope.
You got trucks, machines that do stuff automatically. If you cut down a tree today somewhere, you're probably trespassing on someone's property and probably going to go to jail. So we're really removed from nature.
Yep.
And we're really removed from each other. And so that's going to create a very hostile society. And that's why, just real quick, not to go too off topic, but just so you know, when shit hits the fans happening, there's going to be a lot of rapes and murders.
Yep, mostly murders, I would say.
And I feel bad. There's just real quick. I mean, I was going to say, I feel really bad for the women, and then I don't. I kind of blame the government more because I don't see women as people that are capable. Most women, anyway. There may be a few that are capable of being held accountable for their actions and understanding everything about it. Like I kind of see them almost as children, almost pretty
Yep.
close. So I kind of am like that because I don't think that holding them accountable is going to do you any good anyway. Even if we do, maybe I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is they see that there will be a lot of rape because of
Yep.
the porn availability and how men, like if you see all the betas and how they think about sex like all the fucking time, all the time, more so than maybe someone in the past even would. That will actually, I know we feel bad about being men. I don't think a MGTOW is going to rape anybody, plus I don't want any STDs on top of that.
Right.
Even if like I got demon possessed or something, I'm just like, well, hopefully my demon possession wouldn't be dumb enough to get an STD. But if you poke one of these women, you will probably get gynosyphil AIDS or something like that. You'll probably get COVID as well. I don't know. They're pretty nasty. Like, oh, I couldn't even imagine going down on one of these women.
Mm-mm.
I know I'm gonna puke, but I'm just saying that I could not imagine never doing something like that. I don't know. But yeah, they say that I think part of the reason why we don't want to admit there will probably be a ton of rape is for MGTOW we wouldn't do that.
Mm-mm.
But if you look at all the beta cucks, I mean, I think there could be rape, unfortunately, during Shit the Fan. They have an appetite that's unnatural, and I would be afraid to take a black light to their bedroom. There'll be a speck on the wall. Oh, but that's the clean spot. You know?
Right.
That's how bad their addictions. A lot of beta cucks have a porn addiction. And that's not good for anybody to have porn addiction. I understand that we're animals, we have urges, but you do need to like keep that. Try not to feed it too much.
Keep it to a minimum at some
much
point.
as you can. Yeah. I mean, there's more to life than sex.
Yep.
It is important if you want the human race to be alive, but you know, maybe we'll have designer babies soon or gene edit, so that won't matter. Something like that. I'm really looking forward to that, kind of, even though it will probably just be abused by the government, more than likely.
And I do believe the government also created therapy just for people
They
to
did.
fail. Yeah.
I get it. I get why it's here. We don't want a bunch of, as a society, and if you see how thin, like you understand that the fabric of society is very thin, right?
Yes.
That's why back then, if you went out of context with the order, you caused too many problems, they would kill you. Because you could literally kill everybody by causing like a rebellion. Or you could be taking everybody on their tribe. That's why they did that for, I get it. But at the same, like if you look at the past, they abused. It's always been abused.
Right.
But it's a means of control, and it is really hard to control everything. And a lot of us are just victims to our environment, which is why I have empathy. Like, yeah, I completely agree that it is for control. Like, if a woman didn't want to like clean house, she was considered mentally ill. I wouldn't go that far to say she's mentally ill. I'm sure you heard about the slavery thing. What was it? Yeah, if you didn't want to be a slave, they thought you were mentally ill. If you if you were rebellious against the government, mentally ill. And in fact, if you're rebellious against the government today, they say you're mentally ill. So it is a control thing. Yes.
Probably the same with the vaccines. If I don't take the vaccine, I'm mentally ill, I guess.
Well, they tried to do that. They tried to say if you didn't get a vaccine, you were a narcissist.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a control thing. I do get it. I just think that I have empathy. Like I'll give you this.
Right.
Here's something I've been struggling with. I don't want to go into this too much. Maybe I shouldn't bring this up. Remember the Kyle Rittenhouse case? Remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so you heard about one of the people that died being a sex offender.
Yes.
If you looked at his past, I felt so bad for him. It was almost as bad as Charles Manson's past. Like, his mother abandoned him for a little bit. Then she brought him back. And then when she brought him back, his stepfather abused and molested him. And then she abandoned him again because he got mental health issues because his stepfather molested and abused him. And she kept the boyfriend. I don't even think the boyfriend got in trouble for some reason. That doesn't surprise me either with the justice system.
Right.
But I don't even think they investigated it. I mean, there should be evidence, but I mean, they didn't even investigate it. But that upsets me right there. And so that he became homeless. He's been in and out of mental hospital. He molested boys about the age that he was molested at, and I actually felt bad for him. Like, he obviously turned out like that because of his upbringing.
Right.
That's exactly why. You could say free will, but I'm sorry, most humans don't have the free will that you would like them to be. Only a very select few have that ability. And that's the truth. I understand, like, obviously he probably needed to be separated from society, but I actually felt bad for him. And if you look at Charles Manson, you know anything about his childhood?
Yes.
His mom, like, traded him, I think it was for cigarettes. Yeah,
It's the way
was
he
like a
is now,
hooker.
you know, with the design look and all that crap, and you know that the things that he do, that's why he turned out to be like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
victims like that. That's a very progressive. Like, if I was more conservative, like, part of the thing is conservative people don't like science.
Right.
But then they'll know that you have to train a dog when it's a puppy to get a better hunting dog. And they know that after a certain age, hunting dogs lose their ability for their smell. They're okay with this, but they're not okay with anything with humans. And, you know, it's actually a very progressive mindset. But if you look at it, there's just so much proof. Like, if you look at, have you noticed that dogs have floppier ears? Like,
Yes.
domesticated dogs. Have you noticed that domesticated rabbits have floppy ears?
Yep.
And then you notice that wild rabbits and wild wolves, I guess, don't have floppy ears. Like, that's all genetics. That's all
Right.
from evolution, because they don't need to use them as much because we've taken away their predators. Yeah. I mean, wolves only have a few predators, but you know, they don't have to hunt either on top of that, because we'll just get them a bowl of dog food or something.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I just can't ignore that obvious science. And we've edited, like, there are conservatives that deny DNA because of the God thing.
Right.
And then I believe in God too. I don't think DNA means there's not a God, but I think it proves up more so that there's a God. But anyways, they will say, but then they'll get like a paternity test.
Right.
Like, do you know how many, you know, and they'll get abortions and everything else under the table and say they're against it. And, you know, I get it. I get they have good intentions and everything. And I do think that there being a God does keep humans at the top of the food chain humble.
Right.
Because I think the power can get to us. But, you know, but yeah, I just, you know, I guess, as I said earlier, my mindset is we're just a victim a lot of times of our environment. And yeah, I think that, you know, going back to what we were saying in the conversation, MGTOW saves lives, and it brings, I mean, the understanding of women leads to other things in the system as well, not
Right.
just women and dating and everything else. So it is so important that we get this big chunk of enlightenment brings us to other places as well, which I think is something that MGTOW don't see. Like, they understand, like, okay, we understand how corporations see men and money and how important men are.
Right.
Like, that helps us understand that. Like, I'll tell you this story too. This is actually interesting. So I used to be a cart pusher. Was it my first job? It was like my second or third job I've ever had.
Right.
And when I was working there, I was literally working weekends on my own, getting by. And that's very hard because they couldn't hire anybody else, or the people that they hired weren't very good. And when I quit, they tried to get this. I had a business where I was, I don't know if I told you, I refine gold. I do some other things like from computer pins and stuff like that.
Right.
And I do that. I make money still today. And I was doing that at the time. And some girl that was like a single mother um, they thought that she lived really close to the Walmart. She lived
Right.
closer than I did. So they thought if I was with her, like the manager actually plotted with this girl that they were going to try to get me to hook up with her so that I would work for them. And then she would have someone help her with her bills. But you see, in their mind, I didn't notice this at first. I mean, they didn't tell me this, but men that have kids, and one of the reasons why men without kids and families are actually really dangerous, we don't have anything to lose. We don't have men with families, which is one thing I think the government overlooked. Men with families are harder working, and they're much more easier to, in my opinion, easier to control. And they won't do any like terroristic. I'm not saying I'm going to do a terroristic thing.
Right.
Plus, go off topic, if I were to, I'm kind of a person that believes in magic and stuff. So I would probably go that route if I could, rather than like setting up a bomb, and there'd be nothing legally anybody could do to me.
Right.
But my point is like men are much more likely to risk their lives, especially when it's not even that big of a deal yet. Like when it's too late, that's when the fathers will go fight. But even before that tension, men without kids are much more likely to do things than a man with kids. He's not going to risk his family with a good family that he loves and loves him with kids. He's not going to do anything crazy.
Right.
That's why men that have kids are much less likely to commit a crime. And because they're gonna. If you have a guy, it doesn't mean that they won't. There's plenty of guys that are family guys that have done a crime and went to prison forever, but they're less likely to. Most of your prisoners are not family guys.
I agree.
Beta provider or whatever family guy. Yeah, like they're not. Yeah, so this is why they wanted me to be with this girl. They were willing to throw me under the bus and sacrifice me. Society was, and my employer, and the girl's parents too. I didn't even know that people do this, but I guess they do. Like to actually, it almost seems like a schizophrenic thing, but no, I've talked with many people. It's 100% true. I talk with her close ones, and if you talk with her girlfriends, they'll spill, because they love gossiping. If you tell a girl anything, it'll eventually get to you. But yeah, they were gonna fuck me over. They were gonna try to keep me there to work because she lives closer, so I'll have more. They could just like you could walk to the Walmart in literally like under 10 minutes. That's how close she lived.
Wow.
And so so I could work all the crazy schedules that they wanted. And then she would have a beta mail provider. I have potential. Like I have a bunch of money saved up. I have a $1,000 phone in my hand. I'm not trying to brag because I'm actually kind of I'm a penny pincher. So so this phone's gonna last me. I have a lot of money, but it's like I don't want to spend it all on shit. But like my favorite thing to wear is overalls. Like I don't like tuxedos and everything like that. Like I don't like it. But that's okay. But what I'm trying to say is that so they were willing to fuck me over because they just see me as a disposable asset. That's how they saw me. That's how most people see men. That's how the government sees men. And that kind of has to do with everything we're talking about too, because but I think that this is all going to change, and one thing about what has really grounded me too, I'll just share this. Being a survivalist. There's actually a lot of MGTOW. I think a lot of MGTOW leads men to being survivalists.
Right.
Like living off the land type people. Not everyone. There's still a lot of MGTOW that want to play the game, and I guess that's okay. I look down on it because I have a cognitive bias. Just keep that in mind. I'm an anarchist, so I have a cognitive bias. So against all that stuff. But they so like growing gardens at one point, although I don't have it right now and I'm starting a garden that doesn't need that much sunlight. Right. I had a garden in my closet that and I found out a way to do the timing on it. You know those timers for lamps?
Yes. Yep.
I had that plugged into the wall, and I had a light that hung from the ceiling on hooks above the plants. I had like hundreds of plants in my closet, and I took milk jugs and water bottles, and I cut them. And I also had some regular planters too, but I saved money with the bottles. But and they had a self feeder, so the top of the water bottle had soil in it, and the other half had water. And I would put the cut part on top, and then I would take a string and put it in the bottle, so it could slowly get the nutrients from the water. So it was self-watering. And I had a lamp in the closet with a timer on. It was like a sunlight. It was like a white light for lamps for plants.
Right.
And I didn't have to do anything, very little. And I was self-sustainable. And I talked about this last time. I have a system that, let's say the power went out, I could run everything in my room, not everything in the house, but everything in a room, maybe 2 rooms, from a little battery thing I made that could run the entire house. I could run the entire house off of a little trash can, maybe smaller, fire. So some kind of fire in it or heat source, candles. I can power the whole house from candles. But the thing is, or any kind of fuel. But yeah, so I know I have this and I also feel self-sufficient. There's, like you said, you talk about like doing chores.
Right.
That really grounds you and gives you self-esteem, makes you feel independent, makes you feel like you can rely on yourself. And that's what this does, ultimately. Chores is a good way to go. I know that sounds weird. I don't like making my bed, but, I do everything else, I guess. I don't even have sheets on my bed. I live on a Japanese samurai mattress that I just thought looked cool. But the whole point is, yeah, that's a good point to make. I would really hope that MGTOW clean their room and stuff, or their house, or whatever. I would hope so. That's kind of sad. But
especially when you're doing it live, you definitely want to keep your room clean.
Yeah. But yeah, is there anything else that you want to talk about?
Let's go be on top. You don't have a YouTube channel, do you?
I do, but I don't dedicate to MGTOW.
Okay.
I do all my MGTOW stuff on Facebook, and I just rant. I have a small following on Facebook that keep in touch. I wanted to go professional, but my thing is, I'm not a leader type. I wouldn't say I'm just like a do your own thing type. So it's like I don't follow. I don't necessarily lead. I just like to take care of myself, and that's probably why I don't have a channel. Well, I have a channel, but it's not for MGTOW.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'll send you. I think I sent you a link for my channel. If I didn't, I'll send it to you again.
No. Yeah, I'm trying to build like a small audience myself.
Yeah. I just have random people that locally see it. I actually have some fame locally. Part of it is I do psychic readings, and I'm pretty accurate. I make money that way too.
Right.
And that's why when you talked about tarot cards, I was like, wow, another one. But which is fine. But I'm just saying, I thought I saw another person with similar interests. That's why I freaked out and got all excited. But yeah, I do that, and I just sell them. Anyways, yeah, I've thought about it, but I don't want to do any. If I did it, I would do a radio show. And I'd get a soundboard. You should think about that.
Radio show?
Well, soundboard. Get a soundboard that you can integrate into your talks.
Right.
They have apps and stuff. It integrates into the inline of your phone, so you could press a button. And the only thing I would say is it would probably close out of your StreamYard. I'm not for sure though.
Right.
But yeah. Or maybe you could have it in a speaker in the room. But yeah, you could do sound effects or something for your because I think if you're gonna have a radio show, I do think the sound effects and like the little tunes are important. But you don't have to. But it does make it more interesting.
I know you like my photo cover. You know, I had somebody do
Yeah.
that for me.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if I were to do something, it would be, I don't mind being a guest on people's shows. I actually think, and I'm not trying to be too prideful, but I do think I bring things up that most MGTOW won't touch,
Right.
or most MGTOW disagree with, or don't think of, and I think that's pretty accurate that I do that. But what I'm trying to say is that I think we need someone to stir the pot too, because I don't like when MGTOW just demonize everybody, especially on that thing I was talking about earlier. I'm like, not all women are the same. It just seems like it, because most of us don't have the money to move, which is fine. Moving costs to move to another country without, it being a wreck, costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, at least $100,000 at least, depends on where you go, and that's a lot of money. That's even a lot of money for someone that makes $50K a year to save up. That's a lot of money unless you're really frugal. I think it would be hard to do that on $100K a year, especially into economic times, within a small time frame or something. But that's a lot of money, and most people can't do it. So we're stuck here. And so they don't know what it's like, and so they think everyone's the same, because that's all they've ever known is crazy ass feminists.
You have some nice women out there. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's some nice ones out there,
Mm-hmm.
and the majority is just terrible.
I think the thing that you're going to notice that all of the women that fight against the system, though, are in their 40s. Because the reason why you don't see, a lot of people think, well, a lot of young women don't want to become as militant. I mean, there are some young women that are militant, that are in feminism, but for the most part, they're not super militant with it. Women become militant as they age because of the decreasing estrogen. Right. And so a lot of your hardcore MGTOW advocates are, not all of them. You have Roma Army, but I think that she's kind of a chameleon possibly, and she changes her mind a lot, which is probably because of she subconsciously wants the safety net. Do you know who Roma Army is?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know. Okay. She talks about men opting out of child support, which I 100% support, actually, as long as it's in for me personally, it's a 2-month process. I'm basing that off of babies. They don't have ability to feel pain until a certain time period, and they're not self-aware. That's where I base it off of. But she said that she wants it, and then she said in other videos, and I showed it to her, but she ignored me. In other videos, she said that they shouldn't be able to opt out. And she said some videos she said they should. I think it's because they like the safety net. They have a kid. I think she's fighting some kind of instinct. But where's I going with this? But no, I think that when they're younger, I think there's that instinct, and then I think that they don't have the testosterone, unless there's something wrong with them, to get in there politically, be competitive. Because, as I said, they lose their estrogens. That's why women look more masculine when they get older.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
They lose their sexual traits faster. And one of the, gonna seem random, but I have to say this. Just kind of random, but do you think that women go through menopause and they lose their sexual traits faster because back then half the women would die in childbirth, like they weren't supposed to live that long or something?
Yes, especially when they gain weight.
Yeah,
that's a huge problem right there.
Yeah. I don't think that most women are supposed to since most women would have died in childbirth. I think that's actually the reason for menopause. Yeah. They haven't evolved to live that long. So now when they get older, like they all look like. I mean, there's some women that can prolong it, but you really have to be on top of the game. And I think that women would rather just eat McDonald's and not exercise all day.
Yeah.
Most women, believe it or not, most women actually don't exercise. You're far more likely to see. I understand you can say most men don't either, but you're far more likely to see men exercise even on their own time than women. In fact, I see men in their 50s that are like construction workers,
Right.
and stuff like that, and everything else. So that's part of it too. But they lose their, what was it? You know how they say that most women hit the wall at 35?
Yes.
That's because they're losing their estrogen levels are. It's kind of like a perimenopause thing. They're losing their estrogen levels, and and they're also hypersexual. I don't know
Yeah.
if you know that. Women in their 30s are hypersexual because their body's like, okay, you need to have as many babies as you possibly can before your eggs run out. And that's also a thing. And it's like, again, like science, as I was saying, science can reaffirm all this. Like, they're okay with this for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. Like, they're okay. Well, I don't think you can really fight that. How are you going to prove? How are you going to, like, disprove that women lose their fertility as they age? Like, that's really hard to disprove. And if you did that, you'd be an immediate backlash.
Yeah.
Like, from your body, like, from their consequences, not necessarily anybody else. But, but yeah, like, they'll admit these things. But I think I've really just, here's my mindset. Here's also my mindset. Like, I'm just kind of waiting for the collapse because Mother Nature, or pressure from nature, whatever we want to call it, that we always try to fight off and keep at bay.
Right.
It really is a very fair thing for the most part. Like,
Yes.
if you have, I think I've talked about this before, that's going to set everything straight. Because if you have too many stupid ideas in a high survival kind of environment, whatever you want to call it, you die. And I think that seems a bit cruel, but it really keeps you in line, because lying to yourself, like, look at all the damage and the torture that, and that seems fucked up to say, but then again, look at all the damage that lying and the denying to yourself has caused, and the taking advantage of the fact. Like, I did a podcast on this. I don't know if you heard this. Like, what's happening is, especially on the left, all these freaks from the left, I'm sorry, you know, I could tolerate a gay guy, but, you know, all this crazy 50 gender thing and everything like that, you know, and then if I don't call you Zaire or Zing, I have to be crucified, whatever that is, you know, that's out of control. But where I'm going with this is, you're sitting behind a computer desk and a computer with air conditioning and heat and internet and blankies and everything else and chicken nuggies down the street. And you're sitting there making these ideas where you probably wouldn't be like this if you were living out in the woods in the Iron Age with bears and famines. I highly doubt this mindset would fly. Like, you would die. And they're taking advantage of that. They're taking advantage of the fact that that isn't there anymore. And they can get away with shit. That's exactly what they're. It's so selfish. And it's destructive. And I'm going to lose my job because I didn't call you Zing. So, I mean, that's fucked up. Like, you see what this is. I mean, we could bring the Bible into it.
Yep.
We can do all that stuff. But it's like, this is not okay. And the only, not just that, but like the child abuse and the family courts and the, all this other stuff, and the male suicide rates and the male homelessness and the disrespect and then like I said, I think it upsets people to say that they would die if they had too many dumb ideas.
Yeah.
Well, we're still dying. We have too many dumb ideas. Maybe it's slow, painful death, But I mean, we're just allowing people to. I mean, this is like the fucked up thing. Like society has allowed. This is gonna seem really mean, but in the Bible, just real quick, it actually says that cities are where there's a lot of sin,
Right.
where the most sin is. And again, that kind of has to do with this. Like they say, like I said, they said, shit, fan happens. 90% of the population would die. I think I've talked about this before. You have your diabetics, you have your other people with conditions.
Right.
Then you have if you're not a survivalist, you have a less than 1% chance of surviving. It's like 1 out of 1,000 chance. So an example would be, I'm going somewhere with this. Indiana, give me a second.
All right.
Indiana has a population of about 6 million.
Yep.
Something like that. If shit the fan, according to experts, and I agree with this, there's no real way of knowing, but I think it's a fair estimate. There would be about 6,000 people within like a 5-year span, which
Right.
isn't even enough of my city, which is less than my whole entire city. So that just tells you how many people wouldn't be alive without society. So that we didn't even get these 1 billion population thing until, well, we've had 1 billion before, because the world fluctuates between 500 million and 1 billion throughout the entire history. But it just shows you like how many people would not be here without. Industrial Revolution allowed society to get to 7-8 billion.
Right.
Without it, we couldn't give that many food and resources to that many people. So, but it allows self-destructive. I mean, ignorance is selfish.
Right.
And it allows people like that to walk around because there's no immediate consequence. And if there is an immediate consequence, usually it's not that bad. I mean, you have people, they eventually get theirs and they get into a car wreck or something or whatever. But it's like, I don't like it. I don't like living like this. I don't like the city. I live in the suburbs, but, I don't like all this. And I have some, like, I've actually talked to the left about some of my views, and they can't dispute on it. Like,
Nope.
Remember when I talked about how, they want to kill conservatives?
Oh yeah.
All the time.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
but if they did that, they would die too.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
I'm not a nationalist or a white nationalist, but white men, no matter how much I disagree with the right-wing white men, they're in charge of 90% of the infrastructure.
Right.
So if they die too, and then they don't see this. This just completely missed their brain, and they're just completely, I do think that no matter if you like someone or not, you have to be honest, and you're probably gonna pay like I said, if they really kill theoretically in the fantasy world, because first of all they probably. I don't know. I kind of see, just to go off topic real quick, I think that the beta males would just like throw a pop in my face, or what was it? There was this one person who got a bomb thrown in their house because they didn't agree with Black Lives Matters. So they'd probably do something like that. But it's like a hit and run, passive aggressive pussy thing.
Right.
But they wouldn't do well with a battle against some of these conservative men. No matter how delusional, even if it's a 70-year-old redneck with an oxygen tank. Like, because I've seen those delusional types. They're like, they could take on the world. It's just high testosterone. And I understand, like, the ego and everything, self-preservation, and, being that type of man. But anyways, they just completely bypassed their brain. That if they killed off all the conservative men, they would collapse society, and also showed them how little they actually contributed to anything. They don't have a backup plan, so they don't have a way to Like, I could maybe respect them more if they had like their own gardens. Like, I had a garden in my closet. Like I said, it probably wasn't enough to live off of, but it was something.
Right.
And you know, they don't do things like this either. They probably don't even know how to fix their car in any shape, way, or form. I'm not the best car mechanic either, but you know, they wouldn't know how to rewire their light sockets or anything like that. And they probably don't even have the testosterone to YouTube it for like 10 minutes. But my thing is, you're for me, your goal should be the truth, not your feelings. It's hard
Absolutely.
sometimes. It's hard sometimes. I get it. We're really attached to certain things, but you know, and that's ultimately what I go by, like looking for the truth and trying my best. Because if you're wrong and you try to deny that, and, you know, you don't want to look bad, you want to look smart. I get it.
Right.
Sometimes you don't want to look stupid, right? But it's better to do that than to live by the lie and it'll catch up to you later. It really is. Just get it over with. Accept it wrong and fix it. And a lot of people can't do that, I understand. But yeah. So that's ultimately a lot of this mental health shit's just ignorance.
Yep.
Like, that's ultimately what it is. It's just the cognitive biases, which is essentially what that is. I don't know if you know what that is exactly. It's essentially, in my opinion, you made an emotional attachment to preservation or perceived preservation.
Yes.
And I say perceived because you have all the Trump supporters that say, oh, Trump's going to fix everything. He's not.
Nope.
He's not going to fix everything. In fact, he's probably more in the bag than they would like to admit. Sorry. And it's just like, I feel bad for him, but like, they associate Trump with preservation. So if you don't like Trump, like, you're pretty much going to be crucified. If you go to Trump Valley, say anything about Trump, like, I noticed that they don't want to talk. Like, you can kind of tell if someone's definitely has a cognitive bias. Like, they do not want to talk about or address like all the things that he said about his daughter.
Right.
You know about those things?
Yes.
Okay, he was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. They never talk about those things. They don't even like to defend those things. So they don't like to talk about it because Trump's not allowed to be that person. Trump's not allowed to go to jail. Trump's not allowed to be any kind of thing. You could debate, maybe people can change. I get that type of mindset. But that's for debate, I guess. But they just completely ignore this because Trump's not allowed to be gone. Like, Trump's coming up on 80. How do they know he won't die?
Right.
They don't even think if you notice that they never think about Trump's mental health or him dying or anything, like, they think that they see him like some kind of god or some kind of avatar.
Right.
Or something. Like, that's a cognitive bias, and it's really dangerous. Like, it's so dangerous. I don't think that people understand how dangerous it is. Like, you know, to essentially, it's kind of like the anorexics. Do you know who Eugenia Cooney is?
Yeah, I know who that is. She's
That's a really good
on
example.
YouTube. I subscribed on YouTube. I unsubscribed from her.
Yeah, well, if you know who that is, or if you just look at anybody that's obese or whatever who doesn't want to lose weight, they just keep eating or smokes a lot.
Right.
That's a good example of, you know, how dangerous it can be. But I think it can also catch up with you later. I mean, you have all these. Okay, a good example is, although he didn't suffer too much, I'm glad. I worked with this coworker, and he knew my beliefs. When I was a dishwasher, I like all the grubby jobs. This is how I am right now. I don't do grubby jobs. I like them. I just don't like working with people. Anyways, I told him, and he's like, "Oh, look, I'm dating a single mother." Haha. He was a guy that had a kid, and she had kids. And he's like, well, he was like trying to rub it in my face and say that I was a misogynist, pretty much. And I said, you know, it's not going to work, right? It's not going to work. I said, the chances of it working. He goes, we'll see. And they had a huge fight, and now it's over. I'm like, you could have saved yourself a lot of time But I mean, I guess I got kind of cocky and I unhumbled myself. But at the same time, I was right. I did try to help them. I did, but they just don't listen. They don't, because they have an emotion. They don't like. The best way to describe this is they can't walk around. They don't like that reality. That's what it is. They can't live with that. It upsets them because they want a rain. Like I kind of see like they want rainbows and everyone's holding hands and everyone's happy no matter their religion. But that's just not how the world works, though. And there's probably some kind of positive reinforcement from nature or evolution that's like that. Probably as we saw, and maybe I don't understand it. There's several theories to that, but where I'm going with this is like I had a friend too. My sister's boyfriend. We don't really talk anymore.
Right.
Because of my beliefs, actually, that's why.
Right.
But he was trying to say, I was asking him a while back, and like when I was having trouble dating or whatever, I was like, how did you meet Robin? And that's my sister, sorry. But I was trying to ask him. Okay, that's my I was trying to ask him because my sister, I guess she's a feminist at heart, but she doesn't really act like it too much. She actually kind of carries around, like I'm not trying to be creepy, but I mean, if I was a guy, I guess I would perceive her to be a 10. Actually, she's actually very pretty. I'm not saying I'm gonna do anything with my sister, but you get what I'm saying. Like I acknowledge my sister is pretty, whatever you want to call it. And she dated somebody. Well, his parents have money, so I sometimes wonder, but he does work for himself and everything. Like he doesn't ask his parents for money that much. But it probably gave him a boost on things. But anyways, he isn't, I mean, I don't base everything off looks myself, but it is a priority if I was dating, but it wouldn't be like I'm not going to date a crazy bitch just because she's a 10. Most of the 10s are insane. But let's just say he's below average looking.
Right.
Like he's probably a 3. He looks really weird, and she doesn't care, which is cool. But I was like asking like how they met and everything. Part of it is because I didn't understand why they were together, which is fine. I wasn't gonna like try to break them up or anything. I don't get in people's business like that and try to break people up. But I was trying to figure it out. He was telling me all these things, and he was like, later on, I was telling him my stories. Like he was wondering why I was single, and I was telling him why.
Right.
And he was like telling me that I'm a nay. What is it? Was it a far scry? He was like trying to say essentially like I was some kind of I was an outlier is the term he said, which I agree. So I'm like a different person that's so different I don't really fit in. And he was saying, yeah, I could get with like a pagan girl and everything like that. And I said no because they're mostly feminists. I told him that, and they are. But where I'm going with this is he was like, we had this debate because he was commenting that I talked about this a lot about MGTOW because he doesn't think it's a problem. He doesn't think it's a problem. Like he doesn't think that the females are out of control and the system's gynocentric. So he thought that what I was doing was extreme or silly or whatever. And we had this conversation, and he was like, he like went all over the place with it. Like I was saying, I did everything I was told. I did this and this and that, and it really didn't like flow right. And then he's like, well, there's no certain way to live in society. He's very progressive, by the way.
Right.
So he believes that you can just do whatever you want to do as long as it makes you happy. Which I don't agree with that 100%. Most people are progressive because, again, nature has been held back. But where I was going with this is he was saying, like, women are just as good with saving money and women are better at, like, that women can essentially do whatever we can do. And then, but at the same time, I was telling him, like, he brought this up on his own. Like, he was saying that women are more cutthroat because they're more vulnerable and it's okay.
Right.
But he's told me other things that were disturbing. Like he even told me that it's okay for women to make false rape allegations because he's that cucky. He was saying this because most of the time he was saying that the rapist doesn't get caught, and most of the time false rape allegations are true, so we should just believe her no matter what to protect the real. And I told him if it was you that you probably wouldn't be saying this, and he didn't say anything. He just kind of shut up. And where I'm going with this is the same guy that told me that there's no path to take tried to set me up with this Indian woman I wasn't interested in. Like, she's like a Indian feminist in college and everything like that.
Right.
And I'm MGTOW enough that that's not going to be okay. But and then when she kind of looked at my status and she kind of looked at my lifestyle and everything, he then talks behind my back, which is fine, whatever, and then tells everybody that I needed to better myself. And it's like, you just told me there's no path, and now you're implying that I need to take a path. Like, he's saying that I needed to get myself together more and everything like that. And it's just like, the main problem with him, though, where I was going with this is he cannot accept. I think deep down he knows the truth. I do. I think he fights himself on things, and obviously flip-flopping as much as he does. He knows the truth, but he doesn't want to walk around with a mindset that we're different and that, right now, I mean, the conservatives are right on a lot of things. The only problem with conservatives I have is, I kind of talked about with the police. I said that most police have a conservative mindset, and that's why they let women get away with everything.
Right.
Is women aren't as submissive as they used to be. They're much more aggressive. They probably, they do. They go up to you and say bro, and
bruh.
Or the N-word. So the N-word a lot.
Yep.
And they say all this other stuff and what's up and or sup, and then they'll burp their cock breath in your face. They're not the same. So your perception that the woman was probably the victim probably isn't 100% true. Maybe in the past we could maybe perceive this like women were more feminine. But, the world's different. Like, the thing with conservatives, like I said, they don't get is they don't, I said this in MGTOW forums all the time and everything. The problem with conservatives is they don't know how to interact with the gynocentric world. And they interact with it as if everything's conservative. And that's very dangerous. That's very dangerous. And in telling other people to do that as well. And, that's a problem too, which is kind of why a lot of MGTOW shit on the tradcons, because the tradcons are dangerous because, as I said, they don't know how to act appropriately when something isn't compatible and is going to cause conflict, because the world doesn't work the way it may work in their household, or maybe a few of their neighbors may work that way. But that's why a lot of innocent men go to jail, because they're like, the best way to describe this is look at what was it, Amber Reed? Yeah. And Johnny Depp. That's a really good example. It sent chills down my spine and anger, and I'm a person that's supposed to have it together, when she said no one's going to believe you because you're a man. She almost chopped his finger off. She was throwing things at him. And she was the abusive one.
I had that argument on YouTube, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that argument.
Yeah. And she was, and that right there, if that's not even some kind of proof, I mean, I did see some damage control. There's a Facebook page that says Feminist Against Amber Reed. There's some damage control from the feminists.
Yeah.
And the reason why they needed some damage control is because she is pretty much kind of a proof, or some kind of proof. I mean, why do you think she said no one will believe you because she's a man? Because society is gynocentric.
Yep.
I mean, that's why. It is 100% against men. She's taking advantage of it. And, there's this that's one of the reasons why police are so dangerous too, as I said before, because like it obviously is. Like it's obviously not the same as it was, you know. A lot of the problems is, you know, the more we were, it's kind of weird, but the more we relieve nature, the more masculine women become. In fact, this is kind of an interesting thing. So, do you have trouble, real quick? I am going somewhere with this. I usually am. I just don't know how to integrate conversations in, I guess. Do you have trouble approaching women?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. Okay. I'm sometimes do and don't. I just don't like cold approaching because I don't want to go to jail. But I will warm approach. Okay.
Right.
So I will approach. I prefer a warm approach, just because of legal issues, and I've had problems in the past with it, with cold approaching. But did you know that women, for most of history, were the ones that approached?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why it feels weird, because we're not supposed to approach. But the reason why women don't want to approach, in my opinion, is because they became more masculine.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
my opinion.
I let women approach me. I don't even approach them at all.
Yeah. Most women won't because they don't have the balls.
Yeah.
Well, you get what I'm saying. They don't have they can't take that emotionally. They can't take rejection. And they're afraid of rejection. And so was it where I'm going with this is that's actually a really good sign. I mean, Nikola Tesla was complaining. One of the reasons why he was single, well, part of it is because he liked science more. But he was saying that he didn't want a wife because he considered the women to be, he considered the women to be masculine. What was that, the 1800s or something like that?
Yep.
So that was like 200 years ago, 200 something years ago, almost 250 years ago, something like that. I don't know. So there's a guy in 1800s complaining that women, and we know that they became more masculine since then. So, you know, that's one of the other issues, like, that something's not right is, and you can kind of what I was saying before, it's kind of budging into things. Men are not wired to approach.
Yep.
And we normally wouldn't be approaching. But because the women are supposed to do that, and with every other animal, the women approaches, literally. Every other animal but humans, women approaches. It's not supposed to be this way. It's not supposed to be men approaching. That's another indication of how everything's fucked up. And I never really had any trouble approaching, but I'm also picky, and I don't like to date anymore anyways, but at the time or in general, like even if I put aside all the feminist bullshit, like I'm just picky. Right. So, and there's a lot of women have red flags too, which is probably I think every man should be extremely picky these days because a lot of women have traits that it doesn't matter what country you live in. If they were to know that you had those traits, they would flag you down because you would bring so much toxicity in their life. They wouldn't want to be with you at all. But you know, so that's one thing. And I mean, but I have a question for you because I'm curious. Is that your girlfriend? Is that your only girlfriend that you were talking about? The one with okay. Did you know about that stuff at first?
I did, but sex was just on my mind. So
I see. So she's good looking. Is that what you're saying?
She was good looking at first, but when she gained weight throughout the 5-6 years, then that's when it went all downhill.
Yeah, that's what happens. Yep.
At that time, man, I was blue pill, so I just wanted sex.
I'm not making fun of you or trying to clout. I'm just.
Oh no, you good. Because
I was like, yeah, I was just curious because I'm like, those are some red flags. Even when I was blue pill, I wouldn't say no, but I get it. If she's really hot, you know, we're wired for looks, and we're wired to provide and protect and mediate. So, I can see that. She's like a 10. I don't know who she was. Was she a 10? In your opinion?
Between not 5. I say 7 to 8. Average looking at the most.
I see. Okay, I don't know. That's a little weird, but okay. Okay, whatever. It's over with. what I'm saying. I could understand a 10. I could understand a guy fighting for a 10 if he thought he had a chance. Like, I guess that's. I could see myself at one point. If there was a girl that showed a slight interest in me at
Right.
one point in my life, she was a 10. I would probably put up with some bipolar. Some. but just they can get pretty crazy. They can get pretty crazy. Some of the shit these feminists do, be in a horror movie. It would be. It would be. And if you see there, have you ever? Did she have like a messy bedroom too? Stereotype.
Extremely. Some days I had to clean it up.
Okay, so I know you may not believe this, but that stereotype is true. So my body count is actually pretty high.
Right.
My body count's like 20 something. But where I'm going with this, ultimately, not to brag. So I've dated probably almost 100 women in my lifetime, and then picked 20 something out of those 100, which is pretty good. But and that actually made me hate them more, or not hate them, but not want to be with them more. But I think what I'm going with this is that a messy room thing. They're always talking shit and everything like that.
Right.
The messy room thing is insane and disgusting. Like, I think I might let myself go a little bit sometimes, especially after remodeling, because I remodel my room a lot because I'm weird like that. But I do the feng shui thing, whatever it's called, whatever. So I remodel a lot each year. But like, these are grown adult women, and they're like, we're better than everybody, and they get to put anything. The Facebook thing. There's the thing. Did you ever? This happened to me. Did you ever get jealous looking at people's like families on Facebook and everything like that?
No.
Okay, I did. But do you want to know what's true? That's not how it actually is most of the time. That's all rehearsed. Like, there's families that I thought would look like. There's families that make some pretty good money. You go in their house, it literally looks like a trailer park inside, like a nasty trailer park in their house.
Yep.
That is all a show. It's all rehearsed for that moment. And then they're going to put that on Facebook. Like, all these girls, like, oh, we're independent, and we're nice and everything, and we're awesome. Like, sometimes the pictures will show it if they're sloppy enough. But if they're manipulative enough, there's probably cats, wine, kids, nasty kid stuff everywhere. Room's messy, house is trash, black pitting in the carpet, on their white carpet. I knew a girl like that, like the teacher, like the mom had a good job, the dad was like a teacher, and there was cat shit everywhere, all over her house. And I was trying to date this girl at one point. I eventually cut things off. But I didn't notice at first. And but yeah, like, they hide shit. People hide shit. They only want you to see what they want you to see. I know that sounds kind of weird. It's probably not super majestical phrase, but where I'm going with this is, don't be jealous. One thing, I'm not saying you were, but I was.
Right.
I guess I'm mainly I'm telling this to myself, and I'm telling this to any MGTOW that watches this or whatever. Like, don't be jealous, because oftentimes things aren't what they seem. And that's especially with feminists. Like, oh, that girl's so hot, or, she's so wonderful, we're going to get some action. And then the room that she's going to bring you to, where you're going to smash, looks like something off of Hoarders. That happens a lot. Like, you can't even walk through the bedroom. And sometimes, I don't know if I want to say this. Okay, let's just say there's food cans. There's some other things I don't want to say. Right. I'm going to let your mind wander on that one. There's food cans. There's McDonald's wrappers all over inside the bottom of their car, all over the room. It's not... And you're going to smash in that. Like, that's like a wild raccoon animal thing, smashing that. Like, that's fucked up, dude. But it's not what you see. Even don't.
Snake might come out of there and bite me.
Yeah, cockroaches, bed bugs. Oh God, but no, that's the thing. Like, it's all a shim. I'm not saying that every single person's like that, but it's not rare. at all. I've dated, as I said, about 100 women, and some of them I'd say half or more. I've gotten close to them a little bit. Maybe not sleep with them, but like observe. I don't like flings, so I like to date a bit first.
Right.
And I go to their house, and you would never know. You would never know unless you went there. And it's I would say half or more of those women, and they were from all walks of life, rich, poor. House looks like a piece of trash. All these, especially when dating single mothers. And that's one thing I will tell men. Don't let these women think that men are just dirty and gross and they're all perfect and feminine. They are not feminine. Most of them are not feminine. They may paint their toenails and shave their legs, but they're not feminine. They're wearing pants. I don't know. I actually find pants to be unattractive on women. I don't know what it is. I actually don't like it when women wear pants. I like them to wear dresses, stuff like that. We all know that's not going to happen, but most of the time. Sometimes they wear a nice summer dress. You'll end up paying child support. But, yeah, that's just, yeah. I guess I brought that up because mental health and everything is almost everything is a big fat lie.
Yep. I'm going to go ahead and end the
It
stream
seems
here.
like. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Nice. That was actually a pretty nice chat.
Yeah. This is Red Pill Daniels, and I am out.
Yeah, yep.